chapter 3. Woe to the bloody city! It is full of lies and rapine. The prey departeth not. Hark, the whip, and hark, the rattling of the wheels, and prancing horses and bounding chariots, the horsemen charging, and the flashing sword, and the glittering spear, and a multitude of slain, and a heap of carcasses, and there is no end of the corpses, and they stumble upon their corpses, because of the multitude of the harlotries of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her harlotries, and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against you, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will uncover your skirts upon your face, and I will show the nations your nakedness, and the kingdoms your shame. And I will cast detestable things upon you, and make you vile, and I will make you as dung. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon you shall flee from you, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for you? Art you better than Nahum, that was situate among the rivers, that had the waters round about her, whose rampart was the sea, and of the sea her wall? Ethiopia and Egypt were your strength, and it was infinite. Put and Luban were your helpers. Yet was she carried away, she went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the head of the streets. And they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. You also shalt be drunken, you shalt swoon, you also shalt seek refuge because of the enemy. All your fortresses shall be like fig trees, with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall fall into the mouth of the eater. Behold, your people in the midst of you are women. The gates of your land set wide open unto your enemies. The fire hath devoured your bars. Draw you water for the siege, strengthen your fortresses. Go into the clay and tread the mortar, lay hold of the brick mold. There shall the fire devour you, the sword shall cut you off, it shall devour you like the cankerworm. Make yourself many as the cankerworm, make yourself many as the locust. You have multiplied your merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spreadeth itself and flieth away. Your crowned are as the locust, and your marshals as the swarms of grasshoppers, which camp in the walls in the cold day. But when the sun arises, they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. Your shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Your worthies are at rest. Your people are scattered upon the mountains, and there is none to gather them. There is no assuaging your hurt. Your wound is grievous. All that hear the report of you clap the hands over you, for upon whom hath not your wickedness passed continually? All right, let's go back up to verse 1. We are finishing this book of Nahum today, and Nahum has been prophesying against Nineveh. God using Nineveh, this abode of Ninus, this capital city of the Assyrians, or those that go to the Asher, this step or this altar that they've made for themselves. He's continuing now in the prophecies of against Nineveh, and we remember yesterday, in the last chapter, that she had been emptied out, and there was a punishment coming from God, and God said He was against her, and that He was going to tear down her armies, and even these armies of these spiritual leaders that they have. That's what this is in representation to. But we're going to pick it up here in verse 1. Woe to the bloody city! It is full of lies and rapine. The prey departeth not. And lies and rapine is what it is. These lies, because lies do steal away the truth. Lies cover up, lies hide. God says, you shall not lie. The words of deceit shall not be found in your mouth. And if you don't know what you're talking about, you should keep your mouth shut. Because this bloody city has many meanings. And what it means, it's a city that's built on blood. It's a city, and this blood is in representation to those that have been murdered, those that have been slain. And the earth does cry out, the blood of them does cry out from the earth, because they're slain both physically and spiritually. See, because when someone slays you spiritually now, they are taking advantage of you, and they're using you like a servant or a zombie kind of type servant. One doesn't have no understanding. And these are the corpses. These people aren't dead. We're going to find that these people are alive, but they are dead spiritually too. Hark, the whip, and hark, the rattlings of the wheels and prancing horses and bounding chariots. Hark, listen, the whip. And this whip is the men's tongues. They use it as a whip. They do. And as a whip, they stand in their little chariot there, their pulpit, this place that they've made, this place that they've set up. And this is the rattling of the wheels. This is the confusion, these sound of banging around and clacking. Listen, because Nahum is telling you it's in the city. He can hear it in the city, and that's what he's telling you. If you will listen, you'll hear it. These prancing horses are the sound of the hooves hitting the rocks of these mighty ones, these ones of strength. And that's what the horses always stand for, these ones of strength, these ones that have set themselves up in strength. And these bounding chariots, these chariots that are ever driving around and jumping around in the city. For these are all the instruments of war now, and these are the instruments that men use. 3. The horseman charging, and the flashing sword, and the glittering spear, and a multitude of slain, and a heap of carcasses. There is no end of the corpses, and they stumble upon the corpses. And we're going to see here now this charging, this horseman charging, this one on strength. He's coming in, he's in the battle. And this flashing sword, for they've prepared their sword now, and they have shined it, and the sun does hit it. And this glittering spear, it's the same. They prepared themselves for battle. And the multitude of the slain, and these are those that are slain before them with the false words, with these false teachings. A heap of carcasses, and there's no end of the corpses. Because that's what's happening. Everybody's being slain through lies and adultery. And we're going to find that out. See, verse 4, because of the multitude of harlotries, of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her harlotries, and families through her witchcrafts. And we're still using Nineveh, this city, as an example. This capital city of the Asher, the false altar. God's been using this as the example from the beginning of time. Because of the multitude of your harlotries, of the well-favored harlot, this one they go into, this understanding, we've pointed that out with similitude. God is using this similitude so that you can understand. She's the mistress of witchcrafts and sells the nations through her harlotries. Through this lack of understanding, through this teachings of idolatry, and families, people, these are peoples, families, wife and husband and child, through her witchcrafts. But we're going to see now in the end, God's going to make all this known. We think all this is done and all this is over. God's been making another example for years now, and he's going to make a full end. How do we know? Sin's still on the earth. See, sin's still on the earth. Last time we didn't get rid of all the briar bushes. This time we will. 5. Behold, I am against you, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will uncover your skirts upon your face. I will show the nations your nakedness, and the kingdoms your shame. And that's exactly what God's going to do. See, just like a harlot, he's going to pull your skirt up over your head and show your nakedness to the nations, and show all the kingdoms of the earth your shame. You've brought it upon yourself. See, and you've took this place. You've took this place. 6, and I will cast detestable things upon you and make you vile and make you as dung. And God's going to stain you. God's going to cause this now, and he already has. And when the people wake up and see it, you're going to be found out, for these are the prophecies from the beginning. 7. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon you shall flee from you, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for her? Yeah, see, when they understand, and when they have understanding, they'll flee as they fled from Nineveh in this day, as they fled from Babylon, so shall they flee from you. For you have wrought this harlotry into the world, and these prophecies have been against you from the beginning. Are you better than Nahum, that was situated among the rivers, that had the waters round about her, whose rampart was the sea, and the sea her wall? This great city of Nahum, this disrupting crowd, because that's what God prepares you to. You're no better than a disrupting crowd. A crowd of noise, people of muttering, yuttering. They don't know what's going on. Remember them, they always murmuring, always got something to murmur about, running their mouths. God made this a great city, and it was situated there by the rivers. These rivers descending, the truths coming down, and the waters were round about her. Understanding all around. There was no way to get to her. The sea was her wall. 9. Ethiopia and Egypt were your strength, and it was infinite. Put and Luban were your helpers. Ethiopia, those that are darkened, in Egypt, that land of enclosures, were your strength. It was infinite. It was like there was no end of it, see. It was like there was no end. It was like the mouth of the river, the beginning. And there was no end. Put and Luban were your helpers. Put is the bow, that which is bent. And Luban means the empty-hearted, those that are empty inside. These are your helpers. These are the ones you take advantage of. 10. Yet was she carried away, and she went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the head of the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men. And all her great men were bound in chains. See, this is what happened to Nahum. This is what happened to the disrupting crowd. This is what happened to the murmurers and the troublemakers. God carried them away in chains. These chains are captivity. See, they have gone into captivity, even having no understanding of the great captivity that they're in today. These children dashed in pieces. This is scary to a lot of people, but what this means is this. These are those understandings that have come out of this. These understandings have come out of it. That which is born from the lack of understanding. God has compared them to children of harlotry. And he's going to dash them now into pieces against the stones at the head of the street. These rocks. 11. You also shall be drunk, and you shall swoon. You also shall seek a refuge because of the enemy. You're not going to escape. You're going to be made drunken. See, drunken as if on wine. Drunken because you drank from the cup. You shall swoon. And this swoon is you shall stagger. Stagger like a drunken. You look for a place to hide because of the enemy. These ones that are coming in, they are going to obey God. They are going to return to God. And there's going to be no place to hide. 12. All your fortresses shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they fall into the mouth of the eater. And this is what your fortresses are. Your fortresses are like these fig trees, these fruits that are acceptable to God, even like the first ripe figs of them. But if they be shaken, they fall into the mouth of the eater, and they are devoured. This is what the mouth of the eater is, the devourer. The devourer. How art you shaken? 13. Behold, your people in the midst of you are women. The gates of your land are set wide open unto your enemies. The fire has devoured your bars. These people that are in the midst of you are women. They don't have no strength. See, they're like women in the day of battle. God's made them weak. They can't stand. They run off screaming and crying. Well, there's no men. See, and remember this. There's no men. You haven't got none. Nobody can fight. The gates of your land are set wide open unto your enemies. You don't have nothing, no bars around. Why? Because the fire, the law of God has devoured your bars. And there's no place you can hide. See, now your gates are made open. 14. Draw you water for the siege. Strengthen your fortresses. Go into the clay and tread the mortar. Lay hold of the brick mold. Draw you some water, get you some truth up, boys, and put it in a bucket and get ready for the siege. Strengthen your little fortress you got there. Go into the clay and tread the mortar. This clay are the people. Tread them down. Stomp them. Make ready the brick kiln. Make ready the mold. Form it up. 15. There shall the fire devour you. The sword shall cut you off. It shall devour you like the cankerworm. Make yourself many as the cankerworm. Make yourself many as the locust. This kiln, this fiery kiln that was in Nineveh where they made this brick mold. This Nineveh was a place of old. From the beginning, Nimrod had his furnace there. Fire it up, because there's where the fire is going to catch up with you. See, you're causing these to pass through the fire. It's going to catch up with you there. It should devour you like the cankerworm. Like the cankerworm devours, is what this should say. Cankerworm, let's replace that with the young locust freshly hatched. There's multitudes of them. Multitudes of them coming. Make yourself many as the cankerworm. Make yourself many as the locust. Make yourselves as many of these eggs freshly hatched. Make yourself many as these swarms of locusts. Multiply yourselves now. 16. For you have multiplied your merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spreadeth itself and flies away. For this is what you've done. You've multiplied your merchants, selling the word of God. Like the stars of heaven have you multiplied them. We see your places everywhere. No, not the Lord has built you up. Like the cankerworm, the young locust now has grown up and has spread itself. And it does fly away. It has become the devourer. 17. Your crowns are as the locust, and your marshals as swarms of grasshoppers, which camp in the walls in the cold day. But when the sun arises, they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. That's you being likened to the locust, these devourers and your marshals, these ones that are over you, your captains, your heads, are like the swarms of grasshopper, little destroyers, which camp in the walls in the cold day. There they go to take refuge in the wall. Even this wall that God has set for us. There they get warmed by the rocks that were heated by the sun. They can make it through the night. But now when the sun arises, when understanding comes, they'll flee away, and their place won't be known. You won't be able to find them now. See, the sun's lit upon them. 18. Your shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Your worthies are at rest. Your people are scattered upon the mountains, and there is none to gather them. Your shepherds, these that are watching the flock, these that are tending your flocks, O king of Assyria, O king of this step up, this altar you've made for yourself, this altar that's even a witness against you. Your worthies are at rest. They don't go and do you no good. See, all these things that have made you majestic, that made you noble, they're done away with. And your people are scattered upon the mountains, and there's none to gather them. And I saw them scattered like sheep upon the mountains. And he said, these have no shepherd. Bid them to return. 19, there is no assuaging for your hurt. There ain't no comfort for you. Your wound is grievous. All that hear the report of you shall clap the hands over you. For upon whom hath not your wickedness passed continually? You have done this wickedness in all the earth. You have set up idolatry in all the earth. You shall be found out. Your day has come. All right, Nahum is done. We are going to move on through Nahum. We learn one thing through the prophets, and God is constantly trying to wake us up and teach us through these examples and through these similitudes that he has given. And Nahum was comforted now because God had allowed him to see these things, and God had even allowed him to see this snare the mighty one had even set up for all those that do go after idolatry. But God, it's not God's wish that any should perish, that any should die. People have been taken advantage of and taught idolatry in the way has become a sick thing in the earth. And God wants to heal, and from the beginning God has been trying to call his people out, and he still continues to do that. God wants you to return to his law, return to God's understanding. And this will be your salvation. God will go before you, and God will drive wickedness out of this earth if you will return to God. Lay your idols down and return to the Lord your God. We are going to move on now, and we are going to go to the book of Habakkuk, and I will hopefully see you there.